Welcome to the Nourished Child podcast, a show about childhood nutrition, feeding kids, and dealing with the ups and downs of growing a healthy child. Here's your host, registered dietitian and childhood nutrition expert, Jill Castle.
Hey friends, I'm Jill Castle, a pediatric dietitian, mom to 4 kids, and host of this podcast. I started this podcast in 2016 as a way to help families and healthcare professionals learn more about nutrition and feeding kids. My goal has always been to make nourishing your families easier through breaking down science into understandable concepts you can put into practice right away, and shedding light on and improving the emotional well-being of kids through feeding and food. You can always go deeper on my website, thenourishedchild.com, where I have resources for children ages birth through teen. I'm always so grateful you're here, and I hope you enjoy the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nourished Child podcast. Jill here, and this is our final season wrap up. And I have just a little bits and bobs to talk about with you today. Number one, I wanted to talk about my season highlights, the favorite interviews I had. Of course, all my interviews are near and dear to my heart, but a few of them this season stood out to me, and I wanted to share them with you so that you could roll back into the podcast and listen to them, perhaps when you're hanging out on the beach or taking your walk or running your kids all around the place this summer. And then I also wanted to just give you a little update on what's going on with the book and some opportunities that are coming up this fall for dietitians and parents. So let's start with the season highlights. This season, I interviewed quite a number of experts in sleep, eating, body image, weight stigma, exercise, just a lot of great topics. I thought this season a little bit more sort of parenting oriented or around topics that influence nutrition or that nutrition influences them. And so I just want to highlight a couple. Of course, I did have a very popular show around ADHD and eating habits with Holly Blank Moses. That was episode number 171. She is an expert in ADHD, works with lots of families whose children have ADHD, and we really focused on eating and some of the habits that can come up for children with ADHD, and she gave us some fabulous tips on how to deal with those and manage them and really help your child succeed at mealtime. Another interview that I absolutely loved was with Kristen Neff, Dr. Kristen Neff, who's a researcher on self-compassion, which you might wonder, why do we want to think about self-compassion when we're talking about nourishing our kids? I think it's important that we're all self-compassionate, that we're all reflective on our intentions and our efforts, which I think for the most part are coming from a good place. But that doesn't mean that when our intentions are good, that everything is going to work out. And so Dr. Neff walks us through how self-compassion can really help us get through some of those challenging times around dealing with nutrition and feeding our kids and all the ups and downs of changes through development and as our children age. She really invites us to center ourselves on being compassionate with ourselves and obviously empathetic and compassionate with our children. But sometimes we need to be patting ourselves on the back and telling ourselves that these things will work out and we'll all get through them. And rather than beating ourselves up about how we messed up this thing or how we're just not good at cooking or we're not good at feeding our kids, when we're beating ourselves up like that, it's not helpful for us. And it's not a great role model for our kids either. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to the episode, it's episode number 170, and it's titled Meet Your Superpower, Self-Compassion. One of my interviews this season spurred from the research I was doing for my upcoming book, Size-Wise. And that was episode number 174 with Dr. Allison Miller, who happens to do quite a bit of research on appetite and self-regulation in children. I really loved that episode, and I loved doing the research on that topic because I think that kids have their eating behaviors, and part of them are learned, but part of them are sort of innate. They're born with them. And I believe that the more we understand our children's eating behaviors, the more compassionate and self-compassionate we can be with ourselves and our children. And so I hope you take a listen to this one. It's episode number 174, and it's called Appetite Traits, Eating, and Self-Regulation with Dr. Allison Miller. Of course, we talked about exercise for kids with Dr. Rebecca Hassan, and we talked about weight stigma in youth with Rebecca Poole. Lots of good information there. Dr. Kendron Sonneville came on the show to talk about body image, stigma, and eating disorders in kids. That's a really good one. In fact, I did that interview with her right around the time that the AAP guidelines for children with larger bodies came out. So it's a good, juicy interview. And towards the end, we really dig into her thoughts and feelings about those new guidelines. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to that episode, it's number 179. It's a good one. Last but not least, I did a couple of just short solo ones. How can I support a healthier body image? Episode number 184. And I also interviewed JC Lippold. He was on episode number 185, and we talked about shame and the shame that we can deliver as healthcare professionals to parents and other clients, and how we can do better as healthcare providers and be more compassionate and more understanding about where parents are coming from and the challenges that they're dealing with, some of which are out of their control. And I thought it was a really good eye-opening conversation, particularly in our world today and the variety of individuals with healthcare conditions, financial constraints, inability to access care. And it's a conversation for our time, I would say. Check that one out. It's episode number 185, and it's called Nourish the Person, Not the Shame.
Kids change a lot. Their nutrition needs, eating habits, and food preferences do too. So much so, it can be hard to keep up. The Nourished Child, a website designed for parents who want more nutrition education, helps parents like you get crystal clear on raising good eaters. We've cracked the code on nourishing the whole child, whether you're raising a baby, a teen, or a child with health concerns. Our nutrition school and parent education programs help you get the inside scoop on food and nutrients, positive food parenting, and building self-motivated, autonomous kids who are good eaters. Visit thenourishedchild.com today.
I love answering your questions, and I hope to be doing that quite a bit over the summer. You can send a voice message to The Nourished Child by either going to my website, thenourishedchild.com/podcast. And right in the middle of that page, you'll have an opportunity to just press a little orange button that says start recording, and you can ask me your question. You can also go to speakpipe.com/The Nourished Child podcast, and you will also be able to access that recording button and ask your question there. Ask me anything. I think it's helpful for everybody to understand where everyone's coming from, and the question that you might have might be a big question for somebody else. So don't be shy. I love to hear from you. I wanted to share where I am with my next book, size-wise. I turned it in the beginning of April, and I am waiting for my revisions and my edits to come back. I expect to hear from my editor probably sometime this summer, at which time I'll be spending making my edits and modifying the book. But I have heard that she really likes it, so that makes me super happy. And I actually get to meet with her at the beginning of June. I'll be meeting my editor and my agent in New York City. I'll try to grab a couple of photographs of us so I can share that on social media. But I'm super excited to meet both of them and just talk about the book and the vision for the book and how we will help get the book out. And if you're interested in Size-Wise, it's a book about building habits for children 3 to 13 years of age. And it also has an eye on the emotional well-being of children growing up in bodies that are smaller and larger. So while it is targeting how to build healthy habits in several different areas of a child's life, it's also hopefully helping you raise children who feel good about themselves, no matter their size. If you want to get on my email list, which is a special list I've put together for people who are interested in knowing about what's going on with Size-Wise, including when you can pre-order it and when it will be available, you can go to thenourished.com/size-wise, and you can pop your name into the little email prompt box and you will be added to the email newsletter. Last, I wanted to just quickly review, if you're a dietitian or nutrition professional, I will be starting in the fall having some half-day coaching opportunities for you. So if you're working in your business and you want a little guidance or a deep dive into a specific area of your business, I will now have an opportunity where you can sign up and we can work together for half a day on your business. I also will be starting my Strive Mastermind cohort in September. So again, if you're a dietitian or a nutrition professional and you want to join a mastermind group that will be intentionally on the small side, in September you can join, or we will start in September. I will be opening up enrollment over the summer. If you have questions about that sounds interesting to you, feel free to reach out to me by email, jill@jillcastle.com. Last, for parents, I'm very excited about this. And I have, for those of you who may know this or may not know this, I've operated 2 separate private practices in my career. One in Tennessee, that was my first one, and one in Connecticut, which I closed during the pandemic. I have still been itching to work with families, albeit on a very limited basis and in a different model. So this fall, I will be opening up a small boutique nutrition practice where I will be serving a little or a limited number of families for an extended period of time. I am hoping to work with families who want transformational change, which I believe happens over time, not in 1 or 2 visits with the dietitian. So this is a different model that I'm embracing, and it feels super right for me to be able to work with families on a deeper level and develop a deeper relationship with families and really help them achieve their goals around nutrition, whether it's spending the second 6 months of a parent's first child and helping them start solids from beginning to end between 6 and 12 months, or if it's a habit reboot or a habit rebuild for a family who feels that they've gotten off track and they want somebody like me to help them really put all the lifestyle habits, help them put all the lifestyle habits into place and really get to a better place for the whole family. Anyways, you'll hear more about this on the podcast, but also on my newsletter, which comes out every Monday, called The Munch. If you're not on the newsletter, go to thenourishedchild.com/munch, and that will put you on the Monday newsletter. And I'll be announcing when I open the practice. It will be the fall. There will be sort of a limited number of families that I will be able to work with initially. And we'll see how it goes. We'll see if I work with more than what I think in my brain I can do. But what's most important to me is not to have a huge practice. It's really to hold the hands of the parents that I am working with and work with them frequently over a longer period of time. So again, if this is of interest to you, shoot me an email, jill@jillcastle.com. Thanks, everyone. This is the end of the official season of the Nourished Child podcast for this year, but I will be taking the summer off and I will still be popping in with short answers to your questions. So make sure you either email me your questions or get on speakpipe.com and ask them of me. I can't wait to hear what you serve up to me. It's always a challenge to put all these answers together and really look at the research and the practical experiences I've had and help you conquer some of your burning questions. Anyways, have a great end of the school year and a great kickoff to the summer. You'll be hearing from me. Until next time, give that child in your life a loving squeeze today. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Nourished Child podcast, where the #1 goal is to help you grow a nourished child inside and out.